Hello. Thank you for tuning in to the Bigger Truth podcast. I'm Scott McMahon, and it is just such an honor for me to be able to bring back Solomon Yue. Here is Solomon Yue. He is a national committeeman for the RNC out of Oregon. And this is part 2 of our podcast. And who knows, if you'd like to see Solomon come back, please let us know. There's so much more that I'm sure we can talk about today. Our focus is last time we talked about CCP infiltration into the RNC and into Trump's immediate orbit. And you've sent me a few things since the last show that are on my Twitter account at Bigger Truth. And so let's look right in. So again, thank you, Solomon, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So let's get right into this. And this is something that you shared. And if you could talk about it, I just posted it on X. Who is the man that's, what meeting is this, and who's the man that's circled in red?
The man circled in red name is Tony Parker, RNC treasurer. Now that is an important position. RNC has 4 elected leaders: chairman, co-chairman, treasurer, and secretary. That was the highest level infiltration by CCP. Treasurer Parker got invited to attend this meeting in Beijing, got a picture taken with Xi Jinping, who is the dictator I call Hitler. At the same time, he was briefing Xi Jinping on RNC Trump campaign trendy campaign strategies. I mean, this is dead giveaway. Okay, so when that happened, I immediately realized we got a penetration at the highest level to save our party. That's what we're talking about today, and to save Trump election, we need to expose this. So I went to my friend, lay reporter, Washington Times, Ralph Hollow, who did an article on this. And as a result of his article, and Tony Parker decided not to run for re-election. So the point is, as conservatives, I would define conservatives as constitutional conservatives for the purpose of restore founding principles. And we need to expose bad apples and publicly, and willing to replace them and run somebody against them during the election time. And this is a very good example of that. And so he came out, so we saved RNC from CCP infiltration.
And yeah, and that's exactly what I have been, and that's kind of my mission, is to expose the operators and expose their narratives that are advancing the Marxist agenda within the party, within our circles. You know, there's a lot of attention. It's very easy to see the way that they use narratives and the way that they're attacking the left and all the false narratives there, but we don't pay enough attention to those that are attacking our side. And so that's really my mission. So
Excellent.
let's go to the next. And obviously this is your mission too, specifically and especially with what the CCP is doing. So on, excuse me. So what do you want to look at next here? Do you want to look at that at Steve Bannon and Miles Guo?
Not at Steve Bannon, at the tweet done by Roger Stone.
Okay, good.
And the picture he had with General Flynn. And I do pay attention to this kind of stuff, okay? Because 2016, I was the one for Reince Priebus who wants to parachute his buddy, then Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, into the National Convention as so-called our white knight to hijack Trump's nomination. The reason was very simple. Trump is not electable, and we're going to lose this election to Hillary. And so I fought Robert's Rules of Order on behalf of Trump and prevailed. And by end of the day, and the RNC General Counsel agreed, whatever new nominee presented at a convention must have a vote of the body, which is 2/3 a vote per RNC rules. I was asking for a simple majority by amending our rule using what we call Robert's Rule of Order to govern the convention with 50% plus one. And through this thing, when I saw this thing, I thought about why I got recalled. In Oregon, when Dan Powers and Tracy Honold recall me, use the argument we need to prevent Solomon go to national convention, okay? Because usually I would fight this kind of stuff for President Trump.
Right.
And now somebody is proposing an alternative plan led by Flynn. That concerns me. And plus, I know the background. 3 state parties tried but failed to propose a resolution. It says, if presidential nominee got convicted, shall not receive the nomination. But their proposal, their motions or resolution got shut down by grassroots, by pro-Trump, America First delegates within their own state party. And then 2 Republican law professors published an article talked about National Convention Rules Committee. You can do something to take away Trump's nomination. Again, doing what? You are going to pass a rule and says no Republican Party presidential nominee should receive the nomination after their conviction. Now, you see this one. You start wondering what is going on, okay? Yeah. And on top of it, I know for a fact, General Flynn took 50,000 from double aging Miles Gore.
Yeah.
50,000. Yeah. Now, General Flynn also served as Obama's director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. That agency supposedly, okay, watch out, capture those PLA, People's Liberation Army military intel operatives, agents in America. Last show I proved Miles Gore was one of them. On top of that, he took 50,000 from him.
Right.
I mean, it boggles my mind.
Yeah.
Who is penetrating whom now?
Right.
Right. And that concerns me.
Let me just.
This kind of stuff really concerns me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you just said is absolutely astounding. So there are several things there to unpack. So first, you said that back in 2016, when the convention before of Trump's nomination for president the first time, that there was an effort to get Paul Ryan. You said parachuted in. So basically, to even though Trump had the votes in the primary elections to make him the president, the people said, he's our nominee,
Right.
to make him the president, but to make him the nominee. They were trying to overrule that process and have the delegates nominate Paul Ryan or possibly someone else, even Ted Cruz or someone other than Trump, because they were arguing that Trump wasn't electable. So you instigated, and I've seen articles about this and I'll posted them, you instituted a rule change to make sure that that wouldn't happen. And so in a lot of ways, you helped to save Trump's presidency, or his campaign there, and his nomination. So that's the first thing you shared, which is huge. And then you just said that that Mike Flynn received $50,000, and I have a link to this. You sent me this link also, and I'll post this on the Twitter and in the show notes. That $50,000 was given by Miles Guo, who in our last episode we showed lots of evidence that showed that Miles Guo was actually double agent for the People's Liberation Army, which is essentially, it's like the Department of Defense and the CIA all rolled into one, right, for the Chinese Communist Party. And so he was actually an agent of that. There, he had the lapel pin like what you're wearing, 24 karat gold, which is not like, it's not something that you just buy to show. It's not. This is a very important sign, especially in that culture, that he's a part of that organization. And there were many other pieces as well. So we have a CCP agent giving $50,000 to Mike Flynn, and who was the director of the DIA, which is the CIA. It's like the CIA for the Department of Defense that weaponizes intelligence.
That's correct.
Was the director of that under Obama, and
for 2 years.
For 2 years,
right?
And I've shared this before, but he also, so he was fired because 6 weeks after Putin invaded Crimea, because there were allegations that he misled the White House and that Putin wasn't going to invade. and that's been well documented and published. So and then he started his own private intelligence company. Then he immediately got involved with Trump's campaign, and then there was a whole series of events. And then there was just a testimony a couple of weeks ago that his brother, General Charles Flynn, was involved in preventing the National Guard from getting involved to prevent any unpeaceable activity on January 6th, 2021. And that Charles Flynn, he actually names Charles Flynn, he calls him General Flynn, but it's Charles Flynn that he's talking about, that was involved in preventing the National Guard from stepping in there.
Deployed. Yeah.
Which is what Trump wanted. Trump called for that. He wanted 10,000 troops to be there to make sure that there was going to be peace on that day, and they refused. And what General Flynn said there, Charles Flynn said, was it would be bad optics. So, and according to that testimony, so I'll put a link to that testimony as well. And that was a whistleblower testimony in front of Congress just in the last few weeks. So, so this is just what you just shared is just astonishing. So you're tying a connection with General Flynn, and then the next step here is this Twitter post here that Roger Stone, who's very close, obviously, with Flynn, and what he's saying in this Twitter post here is that, or his X post is, I very definitely told General Flynn that if for some reason Donald Trump decided not to run or was legally barred from running, that the general himself would be preferable as a candidate to Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or anyone else. There was and is no effort to supplant Trump, who we are both strongly supporting. This is called contingency planning, Plan B. Nothing nefarious about it unless you're a nut, right? So, and I don't think that either one of us are nuts here. I mean, you just said, Solomon, that you had the experience with this happening in 2016.
Right.
So how could this happen in 2020?
I witnessed 3 state party Never Trumpers try to push resolutions and on that fact, and also 2 Republican lawyers, law professors, publish article and propose to do this. The only way legally they can prevent, I'm talking about Never Trumpers, okay? can prevent Trump to receive the nomination. Like Roger Stone said, is RNC rules change at RNC Convention Rules Committee, and also by the body of the entire RNC Convention delegates. Now, I know for a fact we will have a vote to prevail, both at RNC Rules Committee and also at a convention. But if we have the votes to prevail, why this? Why dangle this carrot out there? What you try to achieve?
That's right.
That is not contingency. I do plan A, plan B, plan C all the time. This is not. This is signaling. Who are you signaling to? That's the question. Okay. Right. And then you take a look at my own experience. Never Trumpers and infiltrators at the Oregon Republican Party want to take me out for the sole purpose, not letting me attend RNC 2024 National Convention. Wow. Make lots of sense now.
Yeah. This is absolutely terrifying. I posted 2 months ago that my biggest concern is what's going to happen at the National Convention, because I was seeing at that time all of these states, especially the states that are run by these chaos agents, insurgents, that
right.
That it is very, very important to them who the national delegates are.
Let me share with you how I shut down. Last time, 2026, Ted Cruz people passed a similar rule to hijack Trump's nomination in 2016. What they proposed at a National Convention Rules Committee called Vote Your Conscience. The idea is anyone who get elected as Trump delegates on the first ballot, you can vote for your conscience. That means Ted Cruz. The problem is this, I argued, okay? I served on the RNC Convention Rules Committee that year. I argued, this really is so bad. You are asking all our delegates, including Trump delegates, to violate our state law. Hey, this party is founded on one of the cornerstone called the rule of law, right? And in Oregon, using Oregon as an example, our state statute require me as Trump delegate to vote for Trump twice. Then I can become a free agent, vote for other candidates. So I said, this really is bad. So what I did was I win the argument, then I proposed amendment to what they proposed. Basically, nothing will take effect until the convention is over. So whatever they pass, the Rules Committee and the convention, and won't take effect until convention is over. That's how we defeated Vote Your Conscience movement. Okay, so I am totally familiar with their tactics and their strategy. And this time, and will be defeated all right if they're going to propose this.
So I spoke to my here in Michigan, my RNC committeeman, Dr. Rob Steele, and I asked him what it would take to get a rule change. And he said that if I believe it was this was about a month ago, so I believe it's if 2/3 of one state presents a written motion to change the rules, and that's essentially seconded by 7 other states, the majority of delegates from 7 other states, then that would suspend the rules. Is that correct?
That's correct. What happened in 2016, and the day after they got a shutdown of the rule change at the Rules Committee, and they proposed suspend the convention rules. It required 7 states, majority of 7 states delegates sign off. They only got 4 or 5 states, and so that last attempt was killed because they don't have enough states
Right.
to participate.
I would say that, so, most Republican voters at this point, they think, okay, Trump's the nominee. We've already voted. He's got enough delegates. What's the deal? Like, why are you guys even worried about this? Trump's the nominee. And, but it seems to me what you're saying and what I'm feeling and have been really, this has been my greatest concern, fear for the last 2 months, is that we could see the national convention give us a result other than what we voted for. And
Totally. That would be travesty, but at the same time, I don't believe they will succeed. Now,
okay,
what you see is combination of never Trumpers, and that goes Haley delegates, and also working with, I say, way the people false flag operators within our party try to pull this. Basically, those are infiltrators. So when you see this, I know Trump campaign is fully aware of this, and they're prepared to.
And the candidate, it seems very clear to me, is General Flynn. He's got this documentary he just released. He's doing a bus tour. He's got 2 big fancy buses wrapped with Flynn all over them. And these same groups in every state are the ones that are these disruptor chaos agent groups that call themselves America First and We the People. They're the ones that are promoting these events and attending these events. So I think that these events really are focused on the people that they're chaos agents who are going to be delegates at the national convention.
Totally, and that's why we need to watch out for. And when I saw Roger Stone's trip, and I realized how serious this could be, because I take anybody announcement like this very, very seriously. I do pay attention to that.
Right. So is this similar to the tactics that you would see from and expect from the CCP?
Totally. And CCP tactics really is. Have you ever watched a movie called The Battle of the Bulge? In
No.
that movie, Google it and watch it.
Okay.
English-speaking German disguised. They are disguised as U.S. military MPs. Infiltrate our lines to disrupt our communications and our supply line. And CCP does this kind of stuff all the time. And Miles Gore actually is their star, okay, for doing this kind of stuff, because he got so close to members of Trump inner circle, right? But now got exposed. And also what you're going to see is this kind of stuff being happening at a state level as well.
Right.
The infiltrators and with criminal records and the racist elements try to penetrate Republican Party and take over, okay? And the question is, go back to, is the Republican Party worth to save? The answer is absolutely. Let me define today's Republican Party for you. From grassroots out there, the Republican Party is Trump's party, is America First party. You know why? Because Trump actually is restoring first constitutional principle. It's not we the people, by the way. It's consent of the governed by keeping his campaign promises. He is the only politician I know of run on those promises and delivered on those promises.
Sure.
That means he put American voter first, America principles first, in term America first, okay? And so anyone outside of this try to steal, try to penetrate, try to take over the party will fail. It's a different party. And my approach will be, one, you identify them. Two, you expose them. Three, you go to the media. And so when things happen like this, sometimes I wish I would do more at RNC. And case, one good case is that I look back, not you look back, okay, was I took down Michael Steele. I take credit for that, okay? And the way I exposed Michael Steele shenanigan and misuse of RNC funds for personal gain. He wrote a book. He published proceeds of the book, but he was using RNC money to travel in style. Private jets, bodyguards, limousine service, and chauffeur, and also 5-star hotel and host reception, including strip bar tabs, paying, bring people to the strip bar. So when you have this kind of stuff going on, meanwhile, not raising money for RNC, put RNC 26 million in red. And the only way you can expose this kind of stuff is that you go to the media. Right. Each time, then I serve on RNC executive committee. Each time I raise the issue, how come you didn't raise money? Why you spend money on this item, on that item, had nothing to do with RNC or get out the vote, right? And he would get on Fox News, call me a racist. So when that happened, I said, all right, we're going to get you exposed. So two outlets, media outlets. One is the Washington Times. Reporter was late Ralph Hollow, and chief editor-in-chief is current John Solomon. And two of them published article after article, got Michael Steele shenanigan exposed. And the second outlet is Daily Caller, then owned by Tucker Carlson. And also Tucker Carlson was chief editor-in-chief. They were publishing the same article, different angle. So after all that, Michael Steele couldn't run for re-election, because to run for re-election, you need minimum 85 votes. He only got 45 votes. So he couldn't run for re-election. Now, that's what I did. But compared to 2020, when 2020 election year, RNC chairman Ronald McDaniel and Joaquin gave executive committee member a list of RNC vendors provide legal service for the election. So executive committee members asking, why this one? We already approved another list. No, the staff members recommended this list. Those are all well-known, big-name DC firms. If you watch the election night, okay, the testimony from our observers got kicked out in battleground states. They didn't even know which lawyer to call to file a lawsuit immediately. You don't fight this kind of stuff until election is over and you didn't raise issue right there and then, right? So the reason is when you are not serving on this executive committee, and I didn't know this until election is over, until watching state Senate committee and House committee and hearing our electors, the unelected poll observers and telling that story. So I call RNC. I said, what's going on? How come our big name law firms did not send somebody on the ground? Oh, well, they got paid. They thought we're not going to lose this election. Then why we replace the list executive committee already approved? Guess what was the answer? There is a revolving door. Every staff member wants to leave RNC with a golden parachute, find a high-paid job in DC big name law firm.
Wow.
Now, I could kick myself for not knowing this. If I still serve our RNC executive committee, I will blow the whistle. I will go public and shut that thing down. And of course, you also realize lots of RNC big name lawyers resigned because supposedly those Democrats harass their family members and harass them, they're scared. That's what happened. So when you see this kind of stuff, you know there are bad apples within our party. That's why I voted for Harmeet Dillon for RNC chairman, because I knew this kind of stuff and this kind of stuff happening. And I consider this is a corruption. This is a swamp Trump wants to drain and happen to our own party. So the point is, if you know something, you expose it.
That's right.
That's how you're going to save the Republican Party.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And so let's drill into that a little bit more as far as what we're looking at exposing. And do you believe that you said that the methods state by state, and this is kind of the research that I've been doing, and I know you've done some research on this too, looking at other states too, talking with RNC committee members in other states.
In other states, yes.
And confirming that they're using the same methods nationwide. And I've looked at this kind of more of a bottom up approach of doing this research, and I've researched Arizona, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, South Carolina, and a little bit in Nebraska, Florida, Hawaii, and I've seen it in all of those states. Is that kind of what other RNC committee members are saying too? That are there any states that you've seen that it's not happening in, or what can you say?
All those states happening for a couple of reasons. Okay, on one hand, Republican elected official now holding the line and defending constitutional principles, and for that reason, grassroots really fed up. But at the same time, what I call "we the people" false flag operatives use that to promise the world. Okay, and when they do that, and very easily, our base thought, hey, those are good people going to change the party for good reason, right? But pretty soon you realized that is not the case. The kind of stuff you watch out for is when what they say, deeds and the words are marching or not, right? And on top of it, what they propose to do, what will be the end results, okay? The language, for example, in Don Power's own county party, he told county executive committee member that you should feel lucky to have a seat at my table. That's a swamp creature talking.
Right.
That is not we the people talking, okay? And because Republican Party is supposed to be a bottom-up party, not top-down, right? And only DC swamp creature think like that. That's what we're supposed to drain the swamp for that purpose.
That's right.
And so you don't claim things like this, right? And the other thing I'm looking at this is, let's go back to racism. John Powers built a KKK style effigy during my recall and put it in his truck and drove all the way from Portland to East Oregon. And hotel staff members actually asking, is KKK coming to town? Do a rally? Okay, you have this kind of situation going on. So if we are going to save this America First Party and to restore founding principles, I said the other day on the interview, and we are all created equal by our creators. That was in our founding Declaration of Independence preamble. Okay, so discrimination, racism must be rejected based on that reason. Otherwise, we become our predecessor, which is Whig Party, failed to stand up against Black slavery.
That's right.
Right? So when you take a look at all this, you have to say, what is going on? Then also, criminal elements. Criminal elements I'm looking at, oh, no big deal. Trump being wrongfully, politically persecuted.
Yeah.
So if Solomon is out there fighting for against the resolution, Trump should not receive nomination if he is convicted. We can get away with this. Get away with our criminal records. No. Your criminal records is before Democrats waging lawfare against Trump and other Republicans. So those criminal records mean something. It stand on what kind of person you are. And does this party want you to be the leader to lead us to next victory? And the third element is, how are you going to save this republic? By fighting Republicans and conservative Republicans, constitutional conservatives. They never take a shot at the Democrats.
Right.
You have to ask the question, why? Right? And that's why when you see what, you can recognize so-called "We the People" false flag operatives, because they're not shooting at the Democrats. They're shooting their fellow Republicans.
And I love that you call them "we the people," because they do use that language. They use that term all the time, "we the people," but they use it in the same way that the Chinese Communist Party uses the word "the people."
Yeah.
And, it's like with a sense of entitlement, and like we the people deserve the power. We the people deserve to be heard. We the people deserve to be served by the government. These are the kinds of things that they say. And they use they're using lots of different tools, including common law and fundamental law. They quote John Locke saying that actually supersedes the Constitution. There are different kind of sects or groups within this organization, but this "we the people" sense, it's not that and "we the people" really doesn't, and the way they use "we the people" also is they're the ones that represent we the people. So
that is the problem, because so-called "we the people," they have no respect for people's voice. What they're forcing is conformity.
That's right.
Okay, within Republican Party.
Yeah.
That's communism.
Yeah.
And on top of it, in a environment, in America, we are looking at Marxist cultural revolution against free people in America, right? And so we have cancel culture, political persecution via lawfare, and then you see name calling, this kind of stuff going on publicly, right? And so this party, and America First Party, gotta fight this, right? And otherwise we can lose this country overnight, especially this election cycle.
Right.
And meanwhile, okay, they are using the same kind of tactic. If you don't agree with me, we attack you personally.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they have no respect for the rule of law. And so I always question, are they with the people or they are with the mobs?
That's right.
Yeah. And what founding fathers say about the mob rule, right? And that's why they give us a constitution. Mm-hmm. And to prevent mob rule. Mm-hmm. This is a constitutional republic. It's not for democracy.
Right.
So when you see this kind of stuff, you say, wow, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm very glad you're doing this. I'm doing this to expose them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really what they're talking about is the French Revolution. It's not the American Revolution. No. And it is this mob rule. They create power vacuums so that unsavory or they themselves can fill that vacuum, and they're doing that on local levels, state levels. And so, do you believe that the CCP is involved in this multi-state operation? Do you believe that they're actually involved in that?
I have no evidence, but at the same time, I got to believe it. I got to think how this could happen. For example, okay, Don Powers claim he is the way the people, patriot, believing America first. Whether a patriot, America first person, candidate for national committee man, actually import light bulbs from CCP China.
Oh, he imports light bulbs for his business because that's right. He has a light bulb business.
That's right.
We
saw custom decoration paper document. We have not saw bill lading, and we have not seen bill lading and invoice. Uh-huh. So the question is, if CCP charging nothing, zero, or heavily discounted, who is funding him?
Right.
That would be my question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So T. Oliver says 1,000 Talents program, and that if that could be related to, and so, what I would add to that is, is this, the 1,000 Talents program is part of the, it's a CCP program to infiltrate other countries, right?
Also US to recruit our talents to work for CCP,
right?
And to provide our military secrets and technologies, and allow CCP to compete with us, then take over America as world only superpower. And that's under Xi Jinping's China rejuvenation dream. Okay, and that's the one Miles Gore wants to serve and contribute to. Mm-hmm. So that's how you figure out who is real, who is phony.
Mm-hmm. And that what you just described there was a means of funding from the CCP that is very difficult to trace, because there's a legitimate looking transaction there. He's buying light bulbs from China. Right. Anybody that sells light bulbs, the reality is that almost all of them are manufactured in China. So, that doesn't necessarily prove anything. But like you said, if he's getting them for a radical discount or almost free, then
80%, 90% off.
Right. If there's a
Yeah.
deal that you or I can't get, if we were to start our own light bulb business, there's likely something going on there.
Well, the principle is if you are America first, right? You buy American-made products, right? Not products made in China.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm sure there are light bulbs made in America too. So,
Or Mexico, for that matter.
yeah, right, yeah, or Bangladesh, or so somewhere
Yeah.
else, or India. So yeah, so what else? It's a very difficult, and you're looking. That's on a very granular level. It's very difficult to prove. And then there's also campaign finance shenanigans. There's so many ways that I've seen that 501c4s in particular are used because there's a 2-year delay in the disclosure requirement in the disclosure period. So the 990 form, which is their disclosure form, they don't actually have to file that for 2 years after they've spent the money. So, and after they've done what they've done, so they're able to hide quite a bit by doing that, just the delay. And I've seen an example with Christina Carama's campaign. They received, when she was running for Secretary of State, she received a donation from a county Republican party or county Republican club out of Illinois. And that, but it was the FEC believed it was from a 501c3, but that, and it was too large of a donation for the 501c3 limit. So they had to return the majority of it. Someone was contacted at that club and said, "Did you make this donation to Christina Carama's campaign?" And they said, "We've never even heard of her. I don't, and we only got," and it was like $30-something thousand. And they said, we only had 7,000 come in that last year. Like, there's no way. We haven't heard of her. There's no way. Then we found another organization with the same exact name, but it was a 501c4 in another part of the state, a completely different part of the state that was created. Right. And then we've seen the same thing in Arizona, where there are organizations that are funding, or these monies coming from, two other PACs that have the same name as a legitimate company, but that company has no knowledge whatsoever of the large donation that came from that company. And it's a company from out of state. So, tracking it is just very, very difficult, finding where this money is actually coming from, because it's clearly not coming as they're disclosing, as they're saying that it does.
There is a gap.
Yeah.
And between reporting and between that become public information, then you try to track down, there is a huge gap.
Right.
And so it's very difficult. Also, you see lots of people operating with cash, lots of cash.
Right.
And that's another question. Where did you get the cash?
Right. And yeah, it's just so hard to prove. So I want to go back to the National Convention just a little bit more.
Sure.
And what my concern is that, especially with this furor that's been fomented now, primarily by Steve Bannon and Mike Flynn and his whole media network against Speaker Johnson, and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And not that I don't justify anything that Mike Johnson has done, but Steve Bannon said just yesterday, the day before, on his show, he said, "I don't care if it means Hakeem Jeffries becomes the speaker. We need to get rid of Johnson." And
I would disagree with that statement,
right,
because you always look at the big picture. Okay, for us to save this republic, we really need capture the White House, hold House majority, and recapture the Senate majority.
yes.
So we can passing the bills and implement policies to save this republic.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the big picture. So when you take a look, issues like, did Johnson do the right thing? No, he didn't. And if we take him out, would that result in a Democrat speaker on one hand, and cause us not be able to keep the House majority in November. If the answer is no, is yes, don't do it, because you are going to set back this movement.
Mhm.
It is a movement, but when you do things, you got to do it for good reason and for the big picture.
Mhm.
And if this is the only fight we got, November is the only fight to save this republic. Would you say if we keep the House majority and capture Senate majority, our country is going to be better off with Trump in the White House?
Mhm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's the big picture approach.
Right. Right. And I think it's even more than that. I think that the single biggest issue in this election is the deep state. And what we need more than anything else, this is what, our according to our Constitution, the president shouldn't have that much power. However, the one thing that now, because of the nature of the deep state, the president has an enormous amount of power, in potential power, to combat and really dramatically shrink this bureaucratic far left deep state that's trying to control every aspect of our lives. It's really a communist deep state, and the president can restrict that. Do you agree that that's really the biggest issue?
I agree. And Trump presidency and President Trump would have lots of power to rein in the deep state and draining the swamp. On top of, at a Republican Party level, we got to stop revolving door. Let me explain the revolving door.
Great.
Have you heard the name Katie Walsh?
No.
Okay. Katie Walsh was Reince Priebus chief staff at RNC when Reince was chairman of RNC. Reince took her with him to the White House. Reince became chief staff of Trump's White House. Katie Walsh became deputy chief of staff. She actually was the first person Trump fired, okay, because she was leaking White House information to our enemy media, the Washington Post. Now, you would think we would be very careful with a person like that, right? She didn't. She got laid off, fired, and Ronna McDaniel picked her up
Oh no.
as commissioned fundraiser for RNC for the 2020 election cycle. Would you like to guess how much money she made out of our grassroots donors?
Not much. You mean
12 million.
Katie Walsh made?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And now you think
That personally? That's not what she raised. That's what she actually put in her bank accounts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And she paid cash for a mansion in Florida. And so when you see this kind of stuff, when we talk about save this Republican Party, we talk about save this republic, okay? This kind of revolving door, this kind of corruption and swamp deals got to be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. How? This just seems so daunting. How can it be stopped?
Well, again, expose and go to the media. And things like this. But one of the problem is that when our side try to expose so-called "we the people" false flag operatives, guess what they're calling? We need a party unity. You can't do that to us. You can't go to the media. You are going to cause our elections. I said, bullshit. You're going to see more of this, okay? And example after example. Another thing is they are cowards. When you shine the light publicly, they go under the ground. They're hiding. They will never ever come out, defend themselves, defend their conduct. Okay, it would be great if Don Powers wants to do a debate on your show, right, and defend himself. No, that's not going to happen. So the point I try to say is, if you're going to save the republic, save this party and this republic, if you see something, say something and get out. Now, on this one, I wish I would have known earlier. And she is making Katie Walsh is making this kind of money.
Right.
I would expose it.
Yeah.
But when, what's her name? Hami Dillon ran against Ronna McDaniel last year, the story came out. Little late, but still good.
Sure. So really what you're talking about is we need because the party really is a grassroots party, we need people from the bottom up to become responsible precinct committeemen, precinct delegates, and get involved in the party, work their way up the party. And we see from Don Powers, somebody that had never even voted ever in his life until 2022, and all of a sudden he's running for RNC committeeman in 2024. So it's possible, that shows that it's possible that anyone can rise up and get involved with as an RNC committeeman. And so we can get there. We need people like you. We need more people like you in the RNC and in state committees and in county committees and in district committees. And yes, what you said there, Don Powers, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the show. You and Joel, I'm sure Joel would love to debate you, and I could just be kind of the quiet moderator. I won't interfere. I just make sure you guys have your time, and I would love to see that. I think a lot of people would. So yeah, and that goes for any state, anyone from a disruptor organization. If you would like to be on the show, I'd love to have your counterpart, and we could just have a talk and answer some questions. And if you think that the record's been inaccurately stated, you're welcome to provide your own evidence and so forth. But and I think what you're talking about is being rational, being logical, examining the evidence, checking our assumptions, making sure that what we're speaking and believing is true. And
let people decide. Let your audience decide. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a bottom up approach.
Yeah, that's right. And one thing that you talked about too is, you didn't use these words, but my first podcast this morning was with Steve McEwen. He's a county chair in Southern Arizona, and he said, he was talking about servant leadership. And especially with a volunteer organization like a political party, that you can't lead it like you do a business. The servant leadership is so important, and it's something that's not understood. And these chaos agent, insurgent, disruptor organizations in every state, they definitely do not engage in servant leadership. It's serve me leadership. is what, and
I would even add one more on top of servant leadership. And a leader is willing to sacrifice himself for the good of the cause. And that's go beyond just a servant leader, right? And the reason is, when I'm looking back, Karen McChristen asked me, how did you make that decision to toss the race to Dan Mason? I said, you got a very small window between first ballot announcement of the results and second ballot. And at that time, you have to ask, what is the right thing to do for our state party, for our national party, for Trump campaign, for the purpose of saving this republic? When you ask the right question, you know the answer. You will do the right thing. That's why then bring another issue of track records. Show me your track records. what you have done.
Yeah.
I know talk is cheap. And also talk sometimes lying and deception, and is much easier because it takes some time to expose the lies and false flag operations. But take a look at the words and deeds. Are they matching? That's one of the things is very, very important from the perspective of saving this party.
Yes, for sure. Maurice says along those lines, Oregon is going to regret losing this good man. We will never get that back. And I don't know that that's true. Would you plan to run again in 2 years?
I don't know. I have no plan right now, but I do have a plan. Take back.
Okay.
I am helping Trump campaign to raise money, working with all major donors.
Excellent.
And that's one. And two, I have 9 million overseas Americans to reach out to bring those votes home, especially 750,000 American Jews working and living in Israel. After October Hamas massacre and after Iran air attack on Israel, they are so motivated to vote. So now my focus is get Trump elected, period. Once that is done, and I will see what I can do. But on the note of Oregon, it still is my goal, and to use my connection to Trump team and to President himself to help to flip Oregon red. That still is my goal. For that reason, I joined Kerry McCreston's latest project called Oregon Conservative Caucus LLC, and focus on voter registration, focus on get out the votes, focus on legal ballot harvesting. If you got that law passed, and no reason for us not to do it. And also focus on boot camps for grassroots, for Constitution, conservatives, and for American First candidates. And a couple of things I thought was very, very interesting, especially, I don't know if you know the gentleman, Joe Kent, Washington State, Trump endorsed as a candidate for Congress. And as brave grain operator, and he did everything right in the primary. And then general election lost by less than 3,000 votes in a Republican district. So when I see that, and when I see his message, and I realized first time out, new candidate, and somebody needs to help him to develop the new messaging for the for a general election. In the sense, in general election, you really talk about the concerns of your district, of your voters in your district, and so that's something could be done to help all our candidates. So, by the way, for that account, all those way the people false flag operatives, they will tell our voters within Republican Party, we only care about election integrity. We don't care about voter registration and getting the votes out, and that's not important. But in this case, okay, in a fully functional party, you have to do all. You have to do fundraising, and you have to do messaging, and you have to fight Democrats and not fight federal Republicans, and you have to register voters, and you have to get a vote, and legal ballot harvesting, and you need to train them in all aspects of this. So, Carol McCrespin wants to open America First boot camps for our PCPs and for our candidates. I'm fully support that. I will work with her and help out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it was yesterday, day before yesterday, I had some people here in Michigan talking about delegates for Trump, which is a similar thing. It's like, part delegate recruitment, part training, kind of on the job, on the volunteer job training, helping to get the vote and helping Trump get elected, and learning what it means to be a delegate and getting training along the way. And that type of organization, especially a statewide level, like what you guys are talking about, is just, that is the solution. That's a huge part of the solution. So I'm so glad that you're doing that. It's also interesting that you mentioned Joe Kent, because next week I'm going to have I have a whistleblower who is going to be talking about infiltration into Joe Kent's
Really?
election by
Wow.
so I think you'll find that very fascinating. It's stunning. And the way that it was infiltrated, and it's different than what we've been looking at, but related. The bad actors that are white supremacists that intentionally infiltrated his campaign and then sought media attention to try to discolor his campaign as being a white supremacist, full of white supremacists.
Wow.
So that and he's got he has some direct testimony to offer there. So and that's going to be, I believe, on Friday. So I'll be announcing that on Sunday, but I just spoke to him yesterday. So I could talk to you all day, Solomon. But I think that this is you have given us a lot to chew on, and I'm going to hang on to your optimism about Trump being the nominee, and I really pray that does happen, and that there's that we don't see a Hakeem Jeffries speakership to connect some of those dots there further. And I'd like to do this, and you can tell me if I'm crazy. So far, you've kind of confirmed everything that I've suspected. But if Hakeem Jeffries were to become speaker, then I believe that, especially with the timing before the national convention, that the Democrats would pass a resolution declaring that January 6th was an insurrection. And the reason why that would be important is because in the Colorado Supreme Court case, as I read the ruling on that, they said part of what they said is, in justification, is that one person can't decide that something is an insurrection. It takes an act of Congress. And so that resolution, if passed by Congress, could be that act of Congress that could be the justification that states could use to remove Trump from the ballot.
Yeah, we have to be concerned about that. Okay. The reason is, judging how Democrats, leftists using lawfare against Trump, right? And if they got a control of a Congress, they definitely can do that. Now, the problem with Democrats on this side is they are going to fail, in my book. The reason is very simple. Republican National Convention has the rules and how we're going to nominate our national nominee for president. And so we are governed by that. So he will be nominated one way or the other. They don't realize. But on the other hand, they would be able to force or give cover for Democrat-controlled states to take him off the ballot.
Right. Which
that would be the concern. Okay. But that means Trump campaign had to spend lots of money to do a ballot fight, state by state. And eventually will reach U.S. Supreme Court. But again, they force us to spend money on the election side, also on the lawfare side.
Right. And my concern there too is that if that were to happen right before the convention, then that would be used. These chaos agents would use that.
That's true.
Foment enough uncertainty in the same way that they did in 2016, what that you caught onto, saying, well, he's not electable. See, he's not going to be on the ballot, to create that fear, so that and then they're also masters at manipulating a crowd. And so if they're all in the same room, the same building. They space themselves out. They spreading rumors all in a coordinated fashion. They're very good at this. It's military style intelligence operation,
Right.
and I could see the scenario very clearly where that could be successful. And I think going back to that X post that you shared at the beginning with Roger Stone, that is clearly they are gaming this out. They have a plan in mind, and I suspect that this is pretty close to what their plan is.
Right.
Especially when we see Steve Bannon saying, "I don't care if it makes Hakeem Jeffries speaker." I think that he's smart enough to know what he's saying there.
Yeah, you can't do that, and because we're going to pay the price dearly.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I really pray that doesn't happen. I pray for Trump every day. As hard as it is, you have faced you. One of the things that really amazes me about you, Solomon, is that you have a peace and a joy about you, having experienced a lot of persecution in your home country and even here, and even on the RNC, where they tried to remove you, and your own supposed state partner, your committee woman from your own state, tried to remove you, and you just soldier on, you just keep on working, and so I really admire that about you.
I don't have any choice. I escaped from freedom in America. And I realize if we lose this republic, I have no place to go. Neither do 75 million Trump voters. And this is it, like Trump said. And either we save this republic, this election cycle, and we're going to lose it forever.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, Godspeed. I think we're doing what we can, and I so appreciate you and all that you're doing, and for having the humility and willingness to come on my show. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. So thank you all for joining us, and until next time.